Here lately, it's been probably about once a week. Prior to that, we had to stay away due to them being in quarantine.
And the defendant in question here, Mr. Shirley, why is it that you fear for your safety when you're on that property?
Yes.
And I've filed this motion to the court because he violated the stay-away order. Can you describe to the court how you came to hear about that violation?
I was notified by Teddy. He sent me a message over Messenger that Melissa's mom had been allowing Mr. Shirley to stay in the shed, and that had been going on for 2 days.
And so, Teddy and Melissa's mom, what people live at your home?
Teddy, Melissa, and her mother, all three live in the home, as well as Melissa's son and Teddy's son.
And how would you describe your relationship with them in the home?
It's been really good. I'm
sorry to interrupt you. Do you have a landlord-tenant relationship, or are you more casual friends who all live together?
It's more, I guess you would say, on the casual friends side, but it's also pulls some of the landlord-tenant into it as well, because there's certain things that anything done to the house that they do themselves has to go through me first.
Ma'am, do you have a lease with these inhabitants of the house?
No, I do not. It's been a verbal.
A verbal, basically they're leasing the house from you verbally?
Yes, ma'am. They've moved in and out several times. I've been told that they're going to be looking for a bigger place eventually, but right now they moved back in because they could not afford the other place where they were at.
And they're paying you rent?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So basically you have a verbal lease?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ms. Latham, if Your Honor, I'm not going to want to continue the questioning, or if you wanted to ask your questions that you had raised prior to calling the witness, I'm happy for you to ask those questions.
Okay, Ms. Latham, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
I can't see you anymore. It went
sorry.
dark.
Yeah, I'm fixing to get in the car. But.
Okay, here's a situation that's a little bit concerning. When you have a lease, whether it's verbal or written, the people who you lease that house to have the legal rights to that house. Do you understand that?
Yes.
And the waters become muddy when the people who live in the home allow somebody to come to the home, even if you don't want that somebody at the home. Do you understand that?
Yes.
So in this instance, yes, I did impose a stay away order upon Mr. Shirley not to come to that home. However, it's my understanding, as alleged in the state's motion, that it's kind of implicit in the state's motion that the inhabitants of the home are allowing Mr. Shirley to come there. Is that what's going on?
You were, what you were saying was going in and out.
Okay. Do you understand that it seems as though the people who actually live in that house are allowing the defendant to come there? Is that accurate?
That is, it kind of seems that way to me in a way, but his sister said that she told him, Mr. Shirley, which is her brother, that when he did show up, that he could not be there and that he would have to leave.
Okay. And I guess her boyfriend kind of got involved in the communication as well. And seems like at first he wasn't supposed to be there in their minds, but then the boyfriend recanted his side of the story as well. Do you understand that?
Yes, he said that when he recanted, he said that he was there, but he wasn't in a shed, but he was there on the property, on to get at the back of the property.
Okay. Do you understand that you obviously you understand that you and the inhabitants of that home have a relationship?
Yes.
You have a legal arrangement of whether it be verbal or in writing.
Yes, ma'am.
And then do you understand that although the court ordered that the defendant not come to the residence because of the allegations of assault between he and you, okay, that the inhabitants seem to have been inviting him back to the house one way or another. And that it seems as though the problem may lie in the relationship between you, the owner of the home, and the inhabitants, whereby perhaps you guys all need to get on the same page. This guy is not allowed on my property. And the inhabitants, one of which is your daughter, right?
She's there sometimes.
Well, you know them. But my point
the mom's
being,
there, she's not there.
my point being that there's a familial relationship. Obviously, you have some kind of friendships with these people. Is that correct?
With Melissa.
You're trying to help them out.
Yes, that's how. Yeah, that's how it all started with them moving in, was helping them out because they didn't have anywhere to go.
Okay, as does Mr. Shirley. Seems as though he doesn't have anywhere to go, but
he wasn't included in the original agreement at all.
I understand that. But do you understand the dilemma that the court has when the inhabitants of the house invite him to stay there, and the owner of the house, who has a legal arrangement of a lease type situation with these folks that live there, that if the owner doesn't want the inhabitants to have people there, that's between the owner and the inhabitants. And it's a little difficult for the court to consider holding someone's bond insufficient and jailing them, taking away their freedom, when the inhabitants of the house keep inviting him to come stay there. Because obviously, by everything that I can tell in this case, the defendant is homeless. Is that accurate?
To my knowledge, as far as I know, I know that he's camped out quite a bit prior to any of this happening. But to my knowledge, as far as this instance goes, and prior that, since the assault happened, they all have known that he is not, by court order, he is not allowed to be there. Mm-hmm. And they are very well aware of that. And Melissa and her mother did say that when he showed up this time, this is the only time that he has shown up at the house that I'm aware of. And they both told him that he cannot be there, that he needed to leave. He asked for a blanket. She gave him a blanket and told him that he would need to leave. Because she's very well aware that he's not supposed to be there.
Okay.
And so when
somebody put a bed in I guess in the shed, was that intended for someone else to sleep on, or was that for the defendant?
The bed is in storage. It's a queen size bed, and the mattress is up on its side, as well as the headboard. It got broken by someone else months ago, and it's not usable right now. So they got another bed to put into the bedroom, and since that is my bed and headboard, they asked me where I wanted it to be put, and I told them to put it in the storage because some of it had been cleared out. And I went out there that night and checked and to see if it looked like it was flat or anybody been sleeping on it, but it's not flat. It's up on its side as well as the headboard, and there's no way that anyone could sleep on it. My dad has also been out to the storage building to rearrange the next day, and he looked for any signs of Mr. Shirley being in there, and he did not find any signs of Mr. Shirley having been in the shed at all.
Okay.
So I was told, Teddy told me later the next day that because him and Melissa's mother were arguing back and forth, and because of a situation, she had brought up something regarding his brothers that are previously deceased, and that really set him off. He got very angry. They got into an argument. He texted me telling me what he told me about Mr. Shirley being in the shed, and the next day he texted me saying that he was just mad at Melissa's mom, and he wanted to get back at her by saying that, trying to get her in trouble for saying that she was allowing him to stay there. And they both told me that he only showed up on the back end of the property asking for a blanket. And Melissa's mom also told my father and myself that the other brother, Mr. Shirley's other brother, I believe he goes by Chad. I sent the DA a copy of the business name and his address and phone number, but we were told by Melissa's mother that the other brother had bought Mr. Shirley a tent and had it set up at the back end of their property in the woods, and that's where he is staying, is somewhere in Waxahachie. That's what Melissa's mother told us.
Okay. Ms. Yu, do you have any questions for this witness?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you have any more witnesses state?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Latham, you may step down. May this witness be excused.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Latham, you're free to go from the meeting. Thank you for coming and testifying today.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. State, do you have any further witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
State rests?
State rest.
Defense?
Defense has no witnesses. Just make a quick argument.
Okay, so defense rests and
Yes.
close. All right, I'll hear arguments.
Your Honor, I think you worded it really well. Muddy waters. This interaction with the court has really brought some things to clarity. I do still believe that the defendant's stay away order should remain in place. That was originally agreed upon by both parties, and it seems to have been going well. Given the motion to hold bond insufficient, I think you made a great point that we could argue the insufficiency of other bond requirements in its place. Like I said, filed the motion and then learned witnesses were recanting and changing their stories after the fact. I, on the record, would like to clarify that I was not intending to waste the court's time or send any kind of, incomplete message. I should have withdrawn the motion and changed the phrasing. Given the landlord-tenant relationship there, it is complicated. I still believe that the defendant's stay-away order should remain in place. I will not go so far as to request the ELM. I think that tension and immediate safety concern has dissipated, but the stay-away order for everybody's best interest, I believe, should remain in place. And with that, I'll follow up with Public Defender Yu about the defendant's mental health status and the mental health court referral, so we can get those other needs addressed immediately. But I will not take any more of Your Honor's time on this matter. And I appreciate you navigating that strange relationship and going to some of that testimony that it's, as you can see, it is a complicated situation.
Your Honor, we do not disagree with the stay away order. A I think it's clear that Mr. Shirley very likely did not stay in the shed. And I do believe that his family and him are aware that he cannot be on the property. He is in a very difficult situation right now, being homeless in the winter. I am working actively with his family to locate him, and also to see if we can get him into a boarding home or halfway house. He does have mental health issues. As a result, it's a lot of boarding home has multiple people to a room. He does find it it could be difficult for him. So we're trying to find some kind of arrangement that could work for him. I will confirm his mental health status with the court when that information is available. I do intend to refer him to our mental health jail diversion program. I think that would be a good place to have a case manager that specifically works with him, and he will need to, sign HIPAA releases and participate in treatment as part of that program as well.
Okay. So where I stand now is this. I'm denying the state's motion to hold the bond insufficient. What I do want to do is set this case out for, what's today? 22nd. Perhaps set this case out to maybe around January 7th. To give the parties an opportunity to explore, as Ms. Lessing referred to, and Ms. Yu referred to, the mental health concerns here and the defendant's fulfillment of the court's prior conditions placed on him regarding going to, was it the advocacy center? What was it called?
The Child and Family Guidance Center.
Child and Family Guidance Center. I remember having this discussion with the defendant and feeling optimistic that he was going to reconnect with them. So I think those are conditions as far as the defendant participating in mental health services that this court can probably more closely monitor, and perhaps enforce than this he said, she said, back and forth. I don't even know the credibility of these witnesses claiming that he's not following the stay away order. Okay. So let's focus on getting him better, getting him services, and enforcing to the extent that we can that route instead of taking an individual's freedom based on people who are going back and forth, like Ms. Latham so eloquently said, making allegations just to get even with people. And that's not justice, right? So pardon the court's frustration, but it was pretty clear from the motion that I read that this was likely one of those type of situations. And we can't have people's freedoms resting upon other people's vindictive or whatever their motivations are that aren't justice. Okay. So Ms. Yu, if you could reset this for
January 7th.
January 7th and try to give the court an update about
I will.
the prior mental health intentions, okay, for the defendant that we all had.
Yes.
And kind of an update. And hopefully you can find your client. He can come with you on Zoom or whatever that day.
Yeah. We have a motion to suppress temporarily set on that day. So I do plan on being in court that day. So he could come in and I will be there. So we're hoping that might facilitate, since he probably does not have Zoom at the moment. He will have his check. Hopefully he has disability check again at the beginning of the month, and that could assist a little bit in some stability.
Well, I understand the holiday may in fact delay a lot of this stuff. It's hard to get in touch with people.
Yeah.
So, but just be prepared to report to me about, okay, I've contacted these people, I left a message, etc. Because we may have to reset it again for a couple of days just so you can get in contact with the Child and Family Guidance Center. You know what I mean? Because it is a hard time right now to get folks on the phone and whatnot. Because people are taking off for the holidays and stuff. All right.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. We're off the record. Thank you all. See you soon.
Have
Your
a
Honor, I have
wonderful
quick question
holiday.
for you.
Yes, ma'am.
I had sent a dismissal, which you then signed and forwarded on to Richard. So I sent a second dismissal with additional language, and I would request that you can, please, at your earliest convenience, sign that. It is a weird situation where